Preseason, men's basketball, ACC, all ACC, preseason team rankings, rookie of the year. The results all came out yesterday.
Yeah, they dropped it at 6 o'clock last night. I was like, oh, great. Right when we started Overdrive.
Yeah.
Thanks, ACC.
But it did give us a day to react.
It did.
Think about it. And I'm very confident of something.
What's that?
I'm very confident there's someone on the West Coast that doesn't get the ACC.
You think?
There is one vote that is for Cal's Jeremiah Wilkinson as the Rookie of the Year. And that is the only vote that robbed Cooper Flagg of Duke of being the unanimous choice.
You said Jeremiah Wilkinson?
Jeremiah Wilkinson.
Yeah, never heard of him.
That's probably because he's the 251st ranked national recruit, and he's playing for what is picked as the third worst team in the ACC. He's roughly the 18th to 20th, depending on which recruiting service you look at. Best recruit from the state of Georgia.
Oh. Just from Georgia.
Yes, Cooper Flagg is the number one recruit in the entire country.
Oh, okay.
Playing for a team that's picked to win the ACC.
Okay, yeah.
There's also one vote for preseason player of the year that goes to Stanford's Max Raynaud.
Who?
Now Raynaud's a good player. I'm not treating him like Wilkinson. He's a double-double guy, 7-footer for Stanford. But Stanford is picked to finish second to last in the ACC. And I don't know how good you'd have to be to win any kind of Player of the Year award from second to last out of 18 teams. I mean, I don't know if anyone on the Panthers could win MVP this year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No matter how many yards Chuba Hubbard runs for, it'd have to be like 2,800 to win MVP out of second to last in the league.
I mean, unless Stanford goes on some crazy run and wins the league and he averages like 27 and 15, then okay.
Perhaps.
Then all right.
Perhaps, but there is this whole R.J. Davis defending ACC Player of the Year thing that's happening.
Oh, yeah, there's that guy.
And there's the previously mentioned Cooper Flagg.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Who, for Player of the Year, I'll give you the voting breakdown. R.J. Davis was the choice. He was the pick. 40 votes went to R.J. Davis, 10 to Cooper Flagg, 3 for Hunter Salas of Wake Forest,
all right,
and 1 of Raynaud from Stanford.
If this person that predicts this rookie Player of the Year, the newcomer of the year from Cal, and this guy from Stanford to be Player of the Year, I hope that person buys a lottery ticket if those two things come through.
I hope they parlayed the two.
I think
if you genuinely think it's going to happen, you can get money off of that.
I think you can retire.
Is it probably not legal in California? I don't know how California politics work. R.J. Davis versus Cooper Flagg for ACC Player of the Year?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting. I think that's a good debate. Proven versus potential.
I would have picked R.J. Davis. If I had a vote, I would have gone R.J.
I agree, and but I can see why if you are everybody has different risk tolerance. If you're somebody who's a bit more like, I see a high ceiling and a low floor, that doesn't scare me. I could see you going for Cooper Flagg. It's proven versus potential. It's old versus young. Obviously, it's UNC versus Duke. It's traditional scoring guard versus positionless unicorn. It's so many things going against each other that it's. I think R.J. Davis is the guy. I think he's going to be better from the jump. I think there will be less growing pains. But I also understand that if you get the A-plus version of those two players, it's going to be tough to pick against the A-plus version of Cooper Flagg for anybody. Speaking of UNC and Duke, combining for 2 all-conference first or second team picks is surprising. The 2 that we mentioned, Flagg and Davis, are first-team preseason all-ACC guys.
Makes sense.
Nobody else in the first or second team for UNC or Duke. Which is, the reason why it's surprising is because I believe the national AP poll shows it. The voting for the ACC preseason poll shows it. Duke and UNC and Duke, whatever order you have them, they're in a tier of their own in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They are head and shoulders above the rest, at least going into the season with their talent level and expectations, barring something unforeseen. Yet Clemson has 2 on the first or second team, and they don't. That's like, could you predict a Tyrese Proctor bounce back year? Could you predict a Seth Trimble breakout year? Could you predict Ian Jackson or Kamen Malawash to live up to wildly high recruiting rankings as freshmen? Or, this is kind of flip side, Con Knipple or Drake Powell, could you predict them being the more college-ready prospects, even maybe not the NBA prospects of somebody like Malawash or Jackson? I was surprised that UNC and Duke weren't more represented. You would think that it was Flagg and Davis and the Pips for each team based on the way a lot of this voting went down.
I could have seen. I think because Duke has so much turnover. Obviously, we all know the name Cooper Flagg, but Duke has so much turnover. If you wanted to say maybe Tyrese Proctor as the second team
breakout,
I could see that
bounce back, not breakout,
or foster one of those two guys. But with Carolina, R.J. Davis is coming back. Their two other heavy hitters with Baycott and Harrison Ingram are gone. So now you're like, all right, well, we kind of seen Jalen Washington a little bit. We've seen Cadeau. It's like, are they really going to make that big leap? And it's hard for me outside of like a generational prospect like a Cooper Flagg to really put a freshman on any of these kinds of teams, personally.
Okay. So then I guess Flagg would be...
So Flagg's the generational guy.
Okay.
Like, Flagg's a generational guy. Like I said, outside of that, for me, it's hard to put a freshman on one of these teams for preseason. But
I get down
for Carolina, if Harrison Ingram...
if that's your justification, I can get down with
yeah,
that.
If Harrison Ingram had returned, I would have voted him first team. Probably coming back. I mean, he would have been on one of those two teams for sure. If Baycott came back for his 27th year of college basketball, I probably would have put him there.
He would have been a 9-time All-ACC preseason pick.
But yeah, I know, right? But like Shiflin, for example, from Clemson, who was a second-team All-ACC selection for preseason, was an honorable mention player last year. So people have seen his name on the list with conference team. That's generally why those guys get votes.
I'll give you the rest of the list. It's R.J. Davis of North Carolina, Hunter Salas of Wake Forest.
Block.
I have no idea how he wasn't unanimous.
He should have been.
R.J. Davis was unanimous with 54. Hunter Salas and I think Cooper Flagg both should have been unanimous. They both came up 2 votes short. I hope that whoever didn't vote for Cooper Flagg for first team has the rule you have. They're just like, I just don't do freshmen.
That's fair.
I just don't do it.
And I can respect that.
Hunter Salas, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Marcus Burton from Notre Dame, also a first-teamer, as is Nigel Pack from Miami. Second team, you brought up Shiflin from Clemson, Chase Hunter from Clemson, Jameer Watkins from Florida State, Bai Ndongo from Georgia Tech, was a stud freshman last year, looking to build on it, and Ish Leggett from Pitt. Those are the second-teamers.
I think this also goes to show you that, yeah, only Duke and Carolina each only had one guy. But the talent across the league is great.
Yes.
Like the talent across the league is stacked.
I agree with that. And there's a few guys that could really break out. I think Ndongo, who I mentioned, could really break out. Even if somebody like Raynaud from Stanford, I could see him as a second team All-ACC pick. He's 7 foot. He can double it up. I just don't see him anywhere near preseason or ACC Player of the Year. Finally, to wrap up kind of our reactions to this, just to the voting in the polls, team rankings. Duke really dominating. 42 first-place votes, they're in first.
Makes sense.
North Carolina in second, 11 first-place votes. But in total points, they're actually pretty close.
Okay.
So basically, everyone that has Duke at 1 had Carolina at 2. Everybody had Carolina at 2, had Duke at 1, which makes sense. Wake Forest in third, Clemson, then Virginia, Miami, Pitt, NC State squeaks into the top half of the league, followed by Louisville, Notre Dame, Syracuse, and then it gets worse from there. Again, just playing up the tiers thing that I was talking about, they have points for rankings. So, like, if a first place vote is worth 25 points, second, whatever the math is. Duke has 956. North Carolina has 924. Very, very close. The gap between North Carolina and Wake Forest, second and third, is the next, like, if you did, is this similar gap to third to seventh. So those two guys, the Duke and UNC, are head and shoulders in expectations above everyone else. Wake Forest in third, I think, makes sense. Clemson, Virginia, Miami, I'd put them in the next tier with Pitt, that next group. You could shuffle that up however you want, and I'd be fine with it. And then State is chip on your shoulder again. Go shock the world. You're in eighth.
Yeah. Honestly, those schools you mentioned between Wake, Virginia, Pitt, NC State,
Clemson,
Miami. You can give me an order of any of those schools, like put them in an order. I go, yeah, all right, I'd see it.
I think it makes a little bit of sense to just say Wake should be at least towards the top of that group because of their returners. I'm a big Hunter Salas fan. But other than that, it's yes, you want to pick them out of a hat and we can come up with reasons for why it should be that way. We could do it. Boston College, dead last. Just give you the bookends.